Midrash Rabbah. The Midrash Rabbah was written 1,850 years ago by Rebbe Oshaya Rabbah. The Midrash says like this. It quotes a verse that says, "Vayishmu et kol Elokim mitalech began leruach hayom." This is speaking about Adam and Eve. Right? Adam and Eve, if I remember correctly, after they sinned, they heard, what did they hear? The voice of God, mitalech, walking in the garden. Right? That's what they heard. So, one of the Midrash makes the following point. Amar Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana. Mahalech ein ktiv kan. It doesn't say that God was mahalech, he was walking. It says mitalech. Now mitalech kind of is almost like a forced type of walking. It's causative, right? Mitalech, right? Hitpael, mitpael. Mitalech. He was, it's kind of like being caused, being pushed. So the Midrash says why? Ela mitalech mekapetz ve'oleh. You know what was going on? It wasn't just walking. It was a forced walking. What's a forced walk? A jump. The divine presence was jumping. What does it mean? That after Adam and Eve sinned, before they sinned, it says here, Ikar shchina betachtonim haita. The divine presence, God's presence, was in the lower world. When Adam and Eve sinned, what happened to God's presence? It went up. Where did it go? It's a very interesting midrash. So it says, Kaven shechata Adam harishon. Once Adam sinned, nistalka shchina l'raki harishon. The shchina went up to the first firmament, distant. Chata Cain. Then who sinned after Adam? Didn't take very long. Cain killed Abel. Cain sinned. What happened? Nistalka l'raki hasheni. The shchina went up another level. Then Dor Enosh, then the generation of a person called Enosh sinned. What happened to the Shlishit? The Shekhinah went up one other level to another firmament. Then the Dor Hamapel, then you had the generation of the flood. That generation of the flood, with Noah's time, they all sinned. The Shekhinah went up another way. Then you had Dor HaFlaga. What's Dor HaFlaga? Dor HaFlaga is the generation of the Tower of Babel. HaFlaga means the separation, right? The Piluch. Right? That's the generation of the Tower of Babel. And it went to the fifth level. And then came the Sodomites. And then it went up another level to the sixth level. And then came the Egyptians in the time of Abraham with all their contamination. And then God left the world even further, went up to the seventh level. So God, the divine presence, is distancing itself from the world. But then what happens? But there were 7 tzaddikim that brought the Shekhinah back down. Who were they? Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Levi, Kahat, Amram, and Moshe. Amar Abraham, now look what Abraham did. Now you have to remember, if you're going upstairs, right, so we've gone up 7 stairs. The Shekhinah, Hashem's presence, moved up 7. When you go back down, you go down one by one. So Abraham comes and he brings it down 1 layer. Yitzchak another. With me? So Abraham, so that's what it says over here. Abraham brought it down to the 6th, and then Yitzchak brought it down to the 5th, from the 6th to the 5th, and then Yaakov brought it down, etc., until came along a person called Moshe Rabbeinu. Amram brought it down to the 2nd, and Moshe Rabbeinu brought it from heaven to earth. And that's what it says, Tzadikim Yirshu Aretz, etc., etc. So that's interesting. Vayerid, what does it say by Har Sinai? Vayerid Hashem al Har Sinai. Hashem went down to Har Sinai. That means that the Shekhinah, the divine presence, the Torah, is to bring godliness, holiness, spirituality back into this world. That's what the Midrash says. Now this is a little bit... Now, this is the Midrash. Okay, we can all go home now. Let me show you something very interesting, what the Maharal, how Maharal looks at a Midrash, and then you'll understand that he doesn't just take this as just a simple thing. Look how he analyzes it. Now, I want to show you something over here. Don't worry if you can't read it. I'm going to explain what this is. We have 7, there are 7 laws that all humanity are commanded to keep 7 Noahide laws. There's 7 basic laws that Jews and non-Jews are commanded in. Actually, it's interesting. One of them did not apply to Adam, the first man. Which one did not apply to him? Aver min hacham, to take the limb of a live animal and eat it. Do you know why it didn't apply to him? Because he wasn't allowed to eat meat. The first man was not allowed to kill. He wasn't allowed to eat meat. So there was no Avram min achai. He wasn't allowed to kill an animal. He needed. So there was no Avram min achai. He could kill only for korbanot. That's it. He wasn't allowed to kill to eat. Only in Noah's time did Hashem matir, did Hashem permit man to eat meat. So he had a seventh command as well. What was his seventh command? Not to eat from the knowledge of tree of good and evil. He had 6, and he had the 7. Now let's go through. What are the 7 commands? The first one is gezel, theft. The second one is dinim, to make court systems and to judge. The third one is ritzicha, murder, not to kill, not to murder. I won't say not to kill, not to murder. The next one, arayot, sexual immorality. The next one, idolatry, avodah zarah. The next one is blasphemy, to curse God, God forbid. And the final one is Avram min achai, eating a limb from a live animal. Now these are the 7 basic Noachic laws. That means they're the 7 laws, basic laws that God expected humankind to keep until the period of Matan Torah. That's it. And those laws were going to keep God in the world. With me, starting to see a little bit of a deeper layer that we never saw before. Now let's have a look at these laws. They're very interesting. The Maharal divides it. Gezel, he divides it into 2 categories. Actually 3 categories. And by the way, the 10 commandments also fit into these 3 categories. There are laws between man and man. For example, don't steal. That's a law between man and man. And that applies to a human being's body. There's a law that applies to the soul, the rational, the intellect of a human, and that is set up court system and judge. And then there's a law that between man and man that applies to both the body and soul, and that's murder. Because when you kill somebody, chas v'shalom, you take away his physical and spiritual existence. Then we have the category of between man and God. Now let's have a look at that. You have arayot, sexual immorality. Now that relates to the body. That's a sin of the body. Then you have avodah zarah, idolatry. That's a sin of the soul, the mind. And then you have blasphemy, which is a combination. You know why blasphemy is a combination? Because cursing is with the organ, physical organ of the tongue and the intellect. The speech is always a combination of spiritual and physical. So therefore, and then we have finally the root of it all. What's the root? Desire. Avram min achai, eating the liver live animal or getting that one fruit. By the way, it's the same in the 10 commandments. You have man and God, man and man, but what's the 10th? Don't desire. The 10th is the shoresh. The 10th is actually a wrapper that wraps all the other 9 together. Okay. It's the same thing over here. You have the 7 commandments, but the most crucial one is actually curtailing a person's desire. Because once you can be disciplined and curtail your desire, you could keep the others much easier.